welcome to number 12. And yes, a few of you know a few mistakes have happened in between now and the last time you've seen us. And mistakes happen and we've learned from them. So, you know, like I've always said, a couple of guys, a couple of cameras, no professionals. Here we are. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for sticking with us. Liam, thank you for coming down.
You're welcome, thank you, bro.
Thank you for reaching out. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for reaching out, brother. Honestly, thank you for reaching out. And thank you for coming down, taking your time out of your day and wanting to contribute to sharing recovery.
It's a pleasure, mate. It really is.
Yeah, I'm not going to do no introduction. I'm going to let Liam introduce himself, and he will come on to where we know each other from. It's a kind of a beautiful little story encapsulated in that as well. So, but over to you, Liam. Share a bit about who you are. Why have you come here today? What brings you here?
So I'm Liam. I'm still standing, so that's why I'm on here because you know, I grew up with a bit of a troubled background, like a lot of people have. You know, went through the care system, lived with my mum that was an alcoholic, died through alcoholism. So I saw all of that very young, you know, in my life. So, you know, I've gone down roads of drinking. I did. I used every day. It was smoking weed every day. You know, that's what I did. But I would also go through stages of binging with, you know, on the weekend, drinking heavily, sniffing cocaine, all that sort of stuff. So, and that was a way for me to find a bit of peace through traumatic life. You know, that's what I found helped. And now I'm free of that. I've found a way to be freed from that slavery of addiction, and I'm here to talk about that. To be able to hopefully give people a bit of hope, like you guys have, you know, your story and many other stories.
Good man. So just rewinding a little bit. So obviously, you know, don't want to touch too much on it. If it's a little bit, you know, if it's too much for you to share about, you don't need to. So, what was it like, Liam? Because, you know, I've had friends that grew up in care. I've had friends that kind of got taken away. And what was that? How much of that do you remember? How old was you?
So I went into foster care when I think I would have been about 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So I still remember a lot of my life before that.
Yeah.
But then going up to being in foster, so getting to the point of being in foster care, there was, you know, my mum had me when she was 17. She had me, so she was quite young. She was still a child, really, you know.
Yeah.
And she was going out drinking and partying. She was a very loving mum, you know. She loved me dearly. I love her to bits, bless her. But she struggled, you know. And I think finding reassurance in friends that were doing that just led her down that path. So going into care, obviously building up to that point, there's a lot of neglect, you know. Being left on my own with my younger brother at such a young age, while she was going out, you know, would have like babysitters that would be there 1 minute and then go and leave us. So that just abandonment, you know what I mean? Just feeling terrified as a kid.
When you say us, brothers, sisters, or
just me and my little brother.
Just you and your little
yeah.
Oh, younger brother.
My younger brother, yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was the older brother. Well, I am the older brother. He still lives with me now. Bless him. But the actual care bit itself, obviously, was a bit of a relief, to be honest.
Right.
It was horrible being taken away from my mum, but you know, growing up in flats where the drinking and drugs, wanting to go home, you know what I mean? As a little child, it's traumatic, man. So it was a relief at that point to go into foster care, and
a lot of people, they share it the other way around. A lot of people say going into care was a bad experience for me, but for you, it sounds like it was worse at home and
definitely
respite.
It was, mate. It was well, obviously I missed my mum a lot, so that was a hard part of it. I missed my family. I wasn't allowed to roam the streets at night like I was doing at 7 years old. You know, I had to go to bed when it was daylight. So obviously, like, that was a big change in my life. But so that was the bad part of it for me at that point, which really that would have been good. It was good. You should be in bed at that time.
Yeah.
You know, at a young age, but it was a big shock. You know, I went into foster care with the first one. That was a family, well, a man and a woman. They were Christians themselves. They took us to church and stuff. And yeah, I always thought, I always believed in God, but that wasn't like my road at that point. You know, where I was going down. It was just they were Christians. They were nice people.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were actually Noel, who worked at the castle. It was his brother.
No way.
I swear to you, mate. Yeah. Well, I don't swear, but yeah.
Wow.
It was his brother, and I knew the whole time when I was there.
So did you know before you applied for the castle?
No. So
wow.
It was crazy, mate. It was really crazy. And I got there and I recognised him, and it was left on bad terms because with that foster care, because my younger brother, he was very naughty, you know, and there was conflict there.
We'll help you tie this together shortly. We'll help you tie this together. That's mad.
I know. But I never
crazy.
said anything, and I have recently, and it's quite a miracle what happened with that.
Yeah. Did he know who you? Did you know you was you that time that you was there?
No, he said he didn't know, because I didn't really see him much,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether he did or not, maybe he didn't want me to feel uncomfortable because he knew my past, and I'd put the barrier in front, I'd burnt the bridge, and but that bridge has been rebuilt and it's a beautiful thing, mate. So yeah.
Wow. So let's just quickly tie it in, because I feel like we're talking a little cryptically. So so me and Liam know each other from. So there's a few of us that was whilst was volunteering whilst was at Jericho, part of their enablement into reintegrating back into normal life was volunteering, education, work placements, etc. And one of them placements that was put in place once upon a time by Big B, I believe it was down at Alveston Castle.
Alveston Castle, yeah.
A few set of lads would go every summer and even throughout the year, in fact. And that's where we met you, and you was kind of our mentor into working there.
Yeah, the apprentice.
Yeah. You know? So Liam was kind of showing us what to do around the grounds and how to, and we kind of looked forward to it, really.
Yeah.
You know,
and I did, with you guys coming in, it was a good crack, wasn't it?
It was brilliant.
It was great.
So, for those that ain't around the Midlands, Alveston Castle, beautiful little place. And I had the keys to every door there, right?
Yeah. It was amazing. An opportunity was blessed for.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, this is why I love this stuff. It's beautiful because we didn't know that you was in your own form of recovery.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Do you know what
I'd
I mean?
always relate, sort of thing, and speak about, going through hard times and stuff like that. But it was just one of those. I sort of just left at home, come to work and crack on, don't you? You know what I mean? Try and hide from it, really, don't you?
And to explain the overlap, what we was just talking about. So whilst you was in foster care, Noel was one of the workers at Alveston Castle who didn't also know until.
Yeah, and I was in foster care with his brother.
Wow.
And his brother and his wife. So, it was crazy. It was bad, yeah.
That's amazing. It really, really is.
And I wanted to tell him all these times, but, going through that stage of, smoking, drinking all the time, going through my own, I just felt like I wanted to leave all that. This was my new life I was trying to build at Alveston Castle, And I got that opportunity through being in foster care, it was the Care Leavers Employment Project. I couldn't even get a job at McDonald's before that, what I mean? Because I'd been in trouble and just underqualified at everything really. I had one GCSE in maths. But no, they give me this opportunity to work for the council. And I said Alveston Castle was a beautiful place. I'd like to do gardening or something there. And then, Jill, the woman who was working there, often, we set up a meeting and it just took off from there really. Fantastic. And then Noel obviously took me under his wing, bless him. Yeah.
What a small world.
I know.
What a small world. And what's really nice within all of this is, whilst when we were just naturally talking to you, you were sharing bits about, because I think we felt a little bit ashamed sometimes coming. We did. Not sometimes, we did.
Yeah, I
You
can
know,
understand it,
there was a few lads that was kind of like, kind of a bit sheepish. I know I definitely was anyway.
Yeah.
But once we got there and, you know, we felt you guys made us feel welcome.
Yeah,
And you made us feel at home. And we loved it. We loved that bit of volunteering.
Yeah.
We loved getting out of the house. We loved contributing,
Yeah,
giving back.
mate, it was a pleasure having you and all. It was my favourite volunteering group. I always look forward to
Wicked.
you guys, man, because it was.
I was looking at some pictures the other day of one of the bridges that the lads had built.
That was
there's
mint.
a
That.
few little projects that we've done and they're still standing.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Thank you to it. No, I'm joking. No, it was good stuff.
No, awesome, man. You know, and then as time went on, I think we started, you know, building. When we were sharing stuff, then you started sharing stuff.
That's
and
right.
It was kind of like, well, you know what? I've been through this and I've been through that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I treated you any different before you said anything, because you was always the same guy anyway.
Yeah.
But having that mutual understanding,
That's right, mate.
You made it better for us.
Yeah, I appreciate that, mate. Because like I say, I mean, I'd go there and sometimes I'd feel out of place, or I'd feel a bit, you know, there's people there that have gone through uni degrees and stuff to be there.
That's right.
And I've gone through this Care Leavers Employment Project group, you know, and people say, oh, have you been to uni and stuff? And I'm like, no, I sort of felt like I didn't deserve to be there, so I grafted, you know.
You
what I mean,
did.
To make sure I feel like I belong. You know
and it's wicked because I've seen the level of where you got to, and I think it's great.
Yeah, thank you, man.
In terms of, so going back a little, you was young when you started there, because you started, I mean, how old was you when you started there?
I was 19 when I started there. Yeah, I was 19. I'm 27 now. So.
You're 27 now, so we met you when you was about 22, 23?
22, yeah.
That's
21,
crazy.
22, yeah.
All that responsibility
I
for
know,
22.
it's mad, isn't it?
So, this young man, mature man, was in charge of 7, 8, 9 of us, grown men, which is amazing, Liam. You know what I mean? And you had
lovely.
and I guess you had that responsibility because you've got a maturity about you, you've got an understanding about you. You knew who we were, and you know, and more so practicality. You know, you knew what the job was, and you was able to show us.
That's it.
In a good way. So. The reason why I asked you about your age is because to turn your life around and ask to do something at 19 years old, there's not many 19-year-olds that say, I want to dedicate my life to landscaping, gardening, I want to dedicate myself to that.
It was, sorry to cut you off.
No.
I'll say it's, it was quite hard to get to that point, you know, because before Elveston Castle, I had no job for 2 years. I struggled to get a job. I struggled to get a job, and I was in my flat on my own. You know, I'd moved from Skegness. I lived in a hostel from 16 to 18, and then from 18 moved to my flat. So for 2 years, for a year and a half till I was at Elveston Castle, I had no job, didn't hang around with anybody. You know, it was a very, very lonely place. You know, it was dark, depression, anxieties. So this was my chance. Do you know what I mean? This was my chance to better my life, you know, to do something, because I just felt like there was no purpose to it. You know what I mean? It was depressing, man. It really was.
Yeah.
So going there and getting this opportunity, there was many a days I'd bike it there and be like, you know, I'd get comments sometimes like, I might be a bit of a scally, you know, because I was a bit rough around the edges compared to some of others that were around there. So I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. So there were many times, like I say, I can remember one so clearly. It was snowing and I was on my push bike, and I'd had this comment said to me, and I was like, I might just go home. I might just forget about all this and just go home. You know, I can't face this today. And I had a voice in my head that clearly as day said, if you try your best, that's all you can do. If you try your best, that is all you can do. And I thought, that's all I can do, innit? You know what I mean? Go there and try my best.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. You know, there was many of uncomfortable moments that I felt there, and not through maybe not through anyone in particular, but you know what I mean.
I get it, because you know, without mentioning names, there was a few people that spoke really well, and they come
Yeah.
from a very affluent background.
That's
and,
right. So
you know,
yeah, I come from, you know.
we're just lads at the council estate.
That's it, man.
And I get it, because we used to laugh about that stuff as well. We used to laugh in the way that individual spoke, you know. And it did make us feel a little bit like, whoa. You know, mind your P's and Q's when you get there.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Make sure you speak well. And, you know, I get that. So I'm getting from your, you know, you kind of lack of self.
That's
and a
right.
bit, you know, feeling a little
self-esteem
bit
was very low at that point. Yeah. So a lot of that, and that comes through neglect as well. You know, through growing up, being left and things like that. It affects you traumatically. You know, it does mentally, and you know, you feel like not worthy of things, and you know, these are areas that you've got to build on in life and go through challenges, and you know, so to become stronger, because through that weakness and that pain, you know, you either make it or break, don't you? So you've got to make it somehow. And I thank God that I made it, you know, to be where I am today. I really do. So
no, fantastic. You know, before we come on to what kind of keeps you going, you know, in between that, surely have you had difficult moments, you know, because I know you shared about you rocked up to Elveston Castle and it was snowing X, Y and Z, but, you know, since then a lot of time's passed, and, you know, have you had difficult moments that you've thought to yourself, you know what, shit man, I'm just going to throw the towel in and go back to doing what I was doing?
I'd say I've had a lot of hard times, to be honest with you, completely, I've gone through, like, severe anxieties, you know, I've had, like, where I thought I was going to die of heart problems, you know, real bad, going to the hospital, getting blood tests, like, I'm dying, there's something wrong with me, do you know what I mean? Real suppressed feelings and heaviness I've had on me. That was for months, mate. That was even while I was at the castle as well, you know.
Oh, wow.
And that was anxieties, but it was like a fear of heart problem I had. And, I was begging God or whatever was out there at that time to help me through that, because it was awful. And I know people that have gone through that, you know, as well, and that are going through it now. And it's an awful place. I wouldn't wish it on anybody at all.
So that sounds like some serious kind of mental health, struggling with yourself. And
it was awful.
Did you try to reach out to anyone? Did you share about your mental health, or did you find that you couldn't express yourself?
I've always been quite an open person anyway, so I talk to people a lot about how I feel. But at that time, I'd not done any counselling or anything like that. So I thought I should do a counselling session. And it was with, like, just your NHS random one. It was like I think it was about a 6 week or probably more than that waiting time. And it had already passed by then. You know? It had already passed, but it did help. It helped talking to somebody and giving you sort of strategies to get over it, because it's like a chain of thought, you know. It can be a loop that you can get stuck in. But I found something else out with that. So.
Do you know what? I kind of like, for me, I'll be honest with you, when I was struggling mentally, I didn't really say to anyone I was struggling. I'd be lying if I said I did. Do you know, I just used on top, and it was, for me, it was just continue feeding it. Feed it with drugs, feed it with alcohol, feed it with medication. And it'll go away in that moment or that night. But then when I wake up the next morning, it's there again.
It's worse,
so I'm just anxiety is even worse now. I kind of like, I know I've pissed off my partner or my mum or, you know, a family member. So now I've got that avoidance going on now. It's all in my head.
It's
and
the isolation, isn't
it? Wait till people have left the house, then come down, and, you know, so I had all of that stuff going on. And it was just a perpetual cycle. It went on and on and on, and I continued to the point of, you don't notice it for me, I kind of didn't notice it in the end. It was kind of like by now months and months had passed, and I've skipped more and more meals, and
Yeah.
used more and more drugs, and I've drank more and more, and
Yeah.
there was more and more pharmaceutical medication
Yeah.
that I was taking, because that was my gig. My gig was pharmaceutical medication
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
bless you, man.
yeah, if you talk to me about have I suffered with mental health problems, yes, I have.
Yeah, yeah.
Did I get it sorted? No, I didn't.
No, no.
Do you know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
it was the first time, for me, I think it was the first time I was sat in rehab
Yeah.
when I realised actually indirectly my mental, all the stuff
Yeah.
that was kind of burdened on my head that
Yeah.
didn't really, half of it didn't really exist, and there was
Yeah.
different ideas that weren't even mine, and
Yeah, yeah.
so
Thoughts that, yeah.
they were slowly
it.
starting to eradicate and get lifted off, and
Yeah.
sometimes someone will say something, and I'll be like, shit, I relate to that.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense, and talk to him, and then it was so. Going to rehab for me was a blessing, because it was
Yeah.
able to be picked apart
Yeah,
at
yeah.
different times, and
Yeah.
and at the same time restoring some of my mental health and
Yeah.
restoring my sanity.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's it. But I did, yeah, saying that, I chose to go down the weed road.
yeah,
You know, I hated drugs before because
Yeah,
of what
yeah,
my
yeah.
mum went through and seeing my mum die and stuff like from drinking. Yeah, I hated it. I never thought I'd ever drink or take drugs. You know, if my friends would, I'd say, don't do that. It's bad.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I saw the consequences of it.
yeah,
But then that loneliness just got me.
Yeah.
It got me. That was my comfort thing. And then isolation from the weed then led to going out drinking, sniffing.
yeah.
Doing wild stuff, just being
Being young?
crashing and
Being young, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, experiences as well. A lot of
Yeah.
people do it, but it can lead to further places, can't it? Like we say, it can lead to that point where it's got a grip on you then, and
Yeah.
it's got me that way a few times.
Silly question, because you being the older brother, did it affect your younger brother as well? Did he go down that road, or?
No, he didn't take drugs at all. No,
Wicked.
yeah, he's got learning disabilities. Ashley has, so
Okay.
he smokes a lot of fags. he likes his fags. But no, he's never really been into drinking
Yeah.
or drugs or anything like that.
That's all right, yeah,
which
yeah.
is a blessing as
That's
well.
a blessing,
'cause,
yeah.
Yeah, I was bad on the drink. I think he'd be a lot worse.
Yeah.
He would, yeah. So.
Oh no, fantastic. So obviously your life's come on since then,
has.
partly, why you wanted to come and share some of the stuff that you do, and why I kind of really respect where your life is now and what you
Yeah.
do for others.
Yeah.
So talk to us. We'll talk about how you stayed sane, and how you know what I mean, how you remain sane, and what kind of keeps you going. And
Yeah.
we'll talk a little bit about, we'll come on to talk a little bit about the stuff that you do with your food parcels and helping the
yeah.
homeless and stuff, because
No,
I really
bless
want
you.
to highlight
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff as well, and
Yeah.
we'll jib you into the comment section wherever, and if people want to reach out and
Yeah,
help
bless you,
support
yeah.
what you do, I think it'd be fantastic.
That's a blessing, yeah, nice one.
So go on, Liam. So what kind of keeps you going? Because we all have rainy days. We all
yeah.
have, you know what I mean. What keeps you going?
So originally, obviously, I've got my son. That's a big blessing in my life. My son keeps me going, keeps me strong, But before that, going through all these times in foster care and going through troubles, again, I would find myself asking questions to a God, and I'd say, why is this my life? Why is this my life? Why am I here? Why am I in foster care? Why do my friends live with their parents and my mum's struggling, and I'm seeing these bad things happen? So I quite young had that relationship with, something divine, really was. And I'd find myself praying, later on in life, going through struggles, feeling them heavinesses of anxiety, depression. I would have to surrender to something, get on my knees and just say, please help me with this. And there's been a lot of times where I felt that weight come off, and I really did. Some people might find it through meditation or anything like that, but I found it through praying. And it got to a point, obviously I was still smoking weed and stuff, and it got to a point where I found it worked so much, and I wanted to give my life to this God of love, of peace, of that gives me hope in my heart, and I said, show me who you are. Show me who you are, please, because I want to give you more of my life. You know, I want to give you more of my life, and so just show me who you are. You know what I mean? And the next day I was at work, and I was working doing trees. This was after Elveston Castle. I was doing trees with my mate D, and he was in a bad mood that day. He was in a bad mood, and normally I'd be giving it him back, you know, would be a bit argumentative a little bit if there was a bit of trouble like. But I remembered the prayer from the night before that I wanted to give my life and find some peace, you know, so I don't go back and get stoned or whatever. And so I just thought, no, God, I want to do what's right and have a bit of patience here. And we got to the next job, and yeah, this woman came out. Her name was Hillary. Would you like a cup of tea, lads? You know, would you like a cup of tea? My mate was like, no, we ain't got time for that. I said, I'll have one afterwards. So we did the job, and then Dee went off to do his quote, and there was another lad there, Max, and we sat down and had these cups of tea, and she brought me over, gave us a cup of tea, and she looked at me, and then she looked at me, and then she looked back, and she just said, I think you know Jesus, and yeah, I was just like, wow, I was blown away with it, you know, I just couldn't believe that had been answered, you know, that had been answered, and something must have told her to ask me that, you know, because she felt moved to ask me. And so then that's where it all began, you know, that's where, well, me reading the Bible and sort of thing began, and that's where I found my hope and my faith is in Jesus, and
that's what keeps you clean.
It does, mate.
I love really that. Do you know what? I love that because some people think the idea of recovery is only their way, what they understand, because there's different formats of recovery.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, people have a different way of living and a different experience of living. So you know, if it means praying and finding Jesus or Allah or whoever it is, you know, if something has worked for you, keep doing it. Do you know what I mean? Keep doing it, because it's keeping you from living the life that you was living.
Exactly, mate. And we still go through troubles, you know, with that. Yeah, you know, we still go through troubles with, you know, even having faith, but it's it's knowing how to cope with it now, you know, which I've found in the Lord,
having faith as a young man in 2026, keep hold of that, because not many do. Do you know what I mean? That's the truth.
Yeah,
the
that's
truth
my life, man.
You know, the truth is, I wish I could go. I wish I should be going more to the mosque than I do. Do you know what I mean? And you know, for you, you know, you're doing it, so keep doing it, Liam.
100%. Thank you, brother.
Just to add in, don't mean to skip and jump. Just to add in some of the bits, like the other thing, you know, you've got your partner, you've got your house, and
I've got a house. I've got a missus. Yeah, she's amazing. I've got my brother.
Yeah. Got your brother?
Yeah, I've got my brother. I've got good friends.
Yeah.
You know, that are good supporters, you know.
And your own full-time landscaping business as well?
Yeah, tree surgery company,
That's amazing.
Subcontract as well, so doing some bits, you know.
Keeping
busy. Trying to not think too much about money.
So where you was from 5 years ago, you know, helping out Elveston Castle, you know, who'd have firstly, wouldn't have thought we'd be here doing this.
No, I wouldn't have thought I would be here. No.
And secondly, more so for yourself, in terms of yourself, you know, that's amazing, because I remember when you was looking for the house and you was trying to sort out a car, and I remember all of this stuff. Oh, I'm not sure, it's a bit far up north in Derby, and you know, and I remember all of that stuff, and you know, to see where you're at now is fantastic. So, Liam, legend. Just before you do finish, I just probably one of the reasons, you know, a lot of people, right? A lot of us sort our lives out. The truth is, a lot of us sort our lives out. But some people just sort their lives out and just carry on, and they don't do nothing. You've sorted your life out, and that's why I wanted to bring you as well. When you reached out, I said, "Do you know what? This is great." When I seen what you was doing, you've sorted your life out, but then you give back as well. You give back to the community, and you kind of take donations and stuff. So. Talk a bit about that. Why are you doing that why do you get up on a late weekend and do something when it's
so when I've done that is because I
feel... What is it that you do? Sorry.
So I mean, what I do is obviously I I genuinely thank God I'm here. I do, because if it wasn't for him and leading me down this road, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't. I had bad ways of living, and yeah. So I've seen the ways that people can go down. You know, people die of substance misuse, and it's awful. So and they can end up homeless, and you know, all sorts of terrible things. So I want to go there and just give them some hope, you know what I mean? I'm not going there to try and do it for any sort of boastfulness, you know.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely doing it because I found love in my heart for people, for everyone.
So, sorry, just to say, so you collect donations in, you make food parcels, you go to, is it down homeless shelters? Well, where do you go?
So
do you
I
go
just
to
go in
town?
Derby, mate, to be fair. I don't, it's not an organisation of any form. I go to city centre.
Yeah.
With 2 flasks of hot water, boiling water,
Yeah.
a bag of cups, coffee, tea, pot noodles, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
sort of things, and just go out and yeah, just give them a hot drink, mate. Show them that people actually care about them. Do you know what I mean?
Hot drink and food
Hot
as well,
drink,
because you
food,
food
yeah,
parcels.
yeah,
I'd
just like some breakfast bars,
wicked.
lightweight carrying stuff.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
that's what I do. I do it because, like I say, I feel lucky I'm here. So
Yeah.
I want to spread the love that I feel.
Yeah, yeah.
And that I've got in my heart, and also it's good to do good things for people, you know. It
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
you feel good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not trying to.
No,
do it in
listen,
any way,
I could
like-
see you trying to be humble about it. Do you know what I mean? I could see you trying to play it down a little, but you know, I'll happily blow you up and say, do you know, what you're doing, giving food back in your own time, taking a couple of flasks into town, you know, whether it is a couple of light bags, you're going out to give
Yeah.
someone, you know, giving someone a warm meal and a hot drink on a wet
Yeah.
Wednesday, do you know what I mean, when they're homeless and, you know, when life's beat them down.
Yeah, it feels
if-
like my purpose is to do. Is
If
just to
that
do
ain't an act of God and, you know, a form of recovery, I don't know what is. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Big up Max as well, you know, Max. He comes out with me, man. Yeah.
Does he help you?
Yeah, he comes out, mate. Yeah, he comes out. Bless him.
Wow.
He's doing bits as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What a
yeah,
small
he's
world.
good man.
I'm going to reach out to him.
Yeah,
Max, we want to see you.
Yeah, come on, Max. He'll be here, bro. I know he will.
I love Max because I lived with him as well for a bit.
Yeah.
Quirky Max is brilliant.
Good
See,
man, good
again,
man, yeah.
just, you know, where we come from to what you guys do now. This is my way of giving back, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's
I
beautiful, man.
I don't go climbing. I ain't got it in me to climb mountains and raise X amount
Yeah.
of money for treatment centres, and you know I don't go to every meeting under the sun and stuff. So I've
Yeah.
got this space.
Yeah, mate.
I'm all right with a couple of cameras,
Yeah,
except for
yeah.
AI. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm all right with this stuff, so I could do it,
Yeah.
and I'm quite all right. People are like, no, I don't. You know, you need a production team. No, you
We've
don't.
got our own ways of doing
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
mate.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So,
And it's a
nah,
blessing what you're doing, mate. It really is.
talking about that.
Yeah.
So it's all good, man. Listen, it's all love. Keep on spreading the love, Liam.
Yeah,
Keep
thank
on
you.
doing what you're doing. Thank
Yeah,
you so
you
much
too.
for coming down.
Yeah, mate, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
I'm buzzing to see you. I really am.
Yeah, you too, man.
Hopefully we'll break some bread and we'll have some food soon. And
Yeah,
it'll be
definitely,
right
mate. And
time.
thank you for having me to come. So, yeah.
Nah, thank you. I'll link some of Liam's stuff in the comments, and you know, I'll just drop his name in there. Reach
Yeah.
out to him. If you're in Derby, you want to donate, or you got a weekend where your hands are free, reach out to him. Do you know what I mean?
And there's a couple of other places as well. Let me see if I can find the card that I've found somebody who's doing amazing things as well.
And this is what it was about. I did promise you, so whilst Liam's finding that, I did promise you I was going to bring a different set of people, do you know what I mean? And, you know, so it weren't just about my set of recovery or my format of recovery. You know, if it's God that's helped Liam, if it's, you know, if it's Sports Centre that's helped Joe Blogs, if it's a format of, you know,
Yeah.
we want to hear about it, I don't
Bless
care.
you, man.
You know, it's wicked.
Yeah,
Because
and-
you know what? Some
yeah.
people shun other ideas of recovery. I'm not a believer in that. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
I believe that, you know, your reality of freedom is just as much as my reality of freedom is, you know, and I
Yeah,
absolutely love
yeah.
that. So,
No, it's a blessing. It really is, mate. It is. Like you say, there's a lot of people out. There's a lot of support out there in different places. You know.
yeah,
You know, I wouldn't have been able to be here without, you know, aftercare team that's part of the authority. You know, through the
Yeah,
council, opportunities from them.
yeah.
And like Jericho House, man, you know, big
Yeah.
up them as well.
Massive,
for what
massive.
they're doing, and so many other other people out there doing
Other
the bits. Yeah,
organisations.
yeah.
And this is it. Reach out on that note, you know what I mean? Reach out. There is so many different places. When we was younger, we didn't have all of this stuff.
No,
Do you know what I mean? We didn't. Truth be told, I mean, you might have had a little, but when we was younger, we went to a place, asked for help, and we got an appointment like 3.5 months later.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Waiting lists and
So
whatever.
go stew for 3.5 months, and we'll see you soon. You know, don't kill yourself in between. But we're not there, so reach out. Hit up Liam, check him out, see what kind of stuff he does, and then whenever you do find them organisations, whatever they do, just share them.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, There's one on Badminton Lane in Derby that I found that's doing bits, but I'll tag you in the things. I can't remember names for stuff.
Good man. Wicked.
Bless you.
Liam, thank you
brother.
so much.
Oh,
God bless you.
Morning.